Let's talk about how much money you should spend on a van. I'm sitting in the back of my 2007, I should say my beloved 2007 Mercedes Vito van here in Perth. And this has been my home for quite some time. It's comfortable enough for my use case. And I bought this van for $6,300. It's currently advertised for sale for $11,000 actually. I don't think I'll get that, but you know, it never hurts to always have your van for sale. You never know when someone will come along and buy it. But the question today is, how much money should you spend on a van? How long is a piece of string, right? You know, vans, something you can spend as little as a couple of $1,000s on if you're willing to take a bit of a gamble on reliability and sacrifice some comfort. Or you could spend up to $50,000 if you want to really get something a bit luxurious. In my opinion, and for me personally, I sort of float around the sweet spot of buying vans between sort of $3,000 to $7,000. That's kind of where I try and hang out. And yeah, I'll typically keep them, do some work on them, make some modifications to make them a bit more comfortable to live in, and you know, make them look a bit nicer. And then I'll try and sell my vans for anywhere between sort of $7,000 and $11,000. And by the way, I have been successful in buying and selling several vans in the past for a profit. Hopefully I'm about to do the same with this one. So if you're interested in buying and selling vans for a profit, you might want to subscribe to the channel. Not only that, if you just want more information about smarter van living, I'm publishing lots of videos about how to solve and overcome the day-to-day problems that you'll encounter with van life. So if that sounds interesting, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss my future videos. But look, here's my opinion about spending money on vans. I think there are lots of buyers around the $5,000 price point. Certainly less than $5,000, yeah, lots of buyers there as well. But I think you really sacrifice reliability when you start talking about vans that cost less than $4,000, $3,000. If you're buying a van for $2,000 or less, you're really rolling the dice. And I've been burnt in the past, and I've been lucky in the past. You know, my Fiat Scudo van, for instance, I bought that for $2,500, and it served its purpose. It didn't die, and I ended up selling it for a pretty healthy profit as well. So that was an example of where you can get lucky. But I've also been burnt in the past where I spent, I think, $2,000 to buy a Mitsubishi Express that needed a couple of $1,000s of love before it was roadworthy. So I was in for $4,000, and that van, yeah, I got some use out of it, but yeah, it did eventually just die while I was driving it one day down the freeway, and I had to walk away from it. So that was a complete write-off in terms of financial loss. So look, I don't really recommend spending less than $3,000, $4,000 on a van just because reliability is really questionable. But when you start talking about vans that cost more than $10,000 in terms of their resale price, you start to limit the number of potential buyers. You know, again, there are lots of people that are willing to spend $5,000, $7,000 on a van. Not so many people willing to spend $12,000, $14,000, $16,000 on a van. So keep that in mind, and it's certainly worth considering, because if you value liquidity of the asset, and I consider this an asset of sorts, but if you value liquidity and you think, you know, you might want to eventually sell it in a hurry and either buy a new van or just do something different with your money, you may want to steer clear of the sort of more expensive vans just because they're harder to sell. Vans, well, you know, like I said, I'm asking $11,000 for this one, but my previous vans, you know, the Fiat Scudo, the Toyota Hiace, I sold those for $6,500 and $7,500, around the $7,000 price point. And those things are quite easy to sell. And you know, if you're talking about a $5,000 price point, easier again. So that's the main consideration that I think is worth giving a bit of thought to. How quickly are you going to want to sell it? What's your life situation going to be like at that time when you do need to sell? Like, are you going to have the luxury of being able to sit around and wait and just, you know, if it sells, it sells, if it doesn't, it doesn't type thing? Or is the day going to come where you're going to be like, wow, I really need to sell the van in the next 3 days, and then I need to fly somewhere different. If that's the case, I would recommend against something above $10,000 because it is so much harder to sell. All right, I'm gonna leave this one here. If you've got other opinions about, van prices and anything that I've talked about in the video, share it in the comments below. If you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up. That really helps a lot. Otherwise, you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.